Uh, what up? What up? How y'all doing? You know what's great? You know what's crazy, right? It's like the weather's nice because yesterday the weather was crap, but today the weather's pretty nice. However, uh, I don't like getting up right now. I still got like a couple hours before I got a couple hours before I gotta start work. So I'm still laying in bed as I'm doing this live stream right now. Right? So I figured out why not? That's why the camera's not on. You know, it's easier that way. But anyway, hopefully everybody's doing good. But oh man, that election in New York, that was a pretty interesting one. And because we all kind of predicted that Zoran Mandani was gonna win, because you have why you okay. New York is a pretty blue state, right? Blue city. And even though like Republican has made a lot of progress there, but you still have you still obviously still pretty blue. It's still a very pretty blue district. And you had, let's say, what are the candidates that we had? They were pretty awful, right? You had, let's say, Andrew Cuomo, which we all know the disaster that was under him when it comes to, let's say, sexual allegations, and then as well as like the way that he handled COVID with the elderly patients, and which I'm surprised that that's not why he got kicked out of office for, right? The way that he actually handled COVID, and the way that like COVID was spread around the nursing home, which ended up unaliving a whole lot of old people, man. So, but that's not the funny thing. That's not why he got kicked out of office for. He got kicked out of office for allegations. You know, oh, he looked at me wrong. He was a sexual deviant. But anyway, so that's why, that's how he got kicked out of office. And then now he try to, take a crack at what you might call it, try to win the race and all that stuff. And then you also had at some point you had Eric Adam. Eric Adam, like he was okay, right? I wasn't really too sure about his policy, like because he started off as like okay on crime, and some of his policies were okay and all that stuff. But then again, if you're not like far left enough in the Democratic Party, you're gonna have some pushback. And then once he actually tried to make have common sense, so then he was accused of being a Republican or siding with Trump. So it's like, well, fuck it, if you can't beat him, join him, right? So that's how he ended up being a Trump supporter at the end, because he's like, yo, all these immigrants coming over here, the resources that we have, we can't stretch them to people that's not supposed to be here, right? So they looked at him as a traitor, which is funny enough, right? If you were looking for the Americans' best interests, you were considered a traitor, right? So then they try to kick him out of office and all this yada yada yada, all this investigation. Was he corrupt? Was he not corrupt? Who knows? Maybe he was, right? I'm pretty like I think I'm about like 70% sure that he was somewhat corrupt, and then he realized like, yo, um, okay, he was somewhat corrupt, and then but he was but he was looked at as a traitor to the Democratic Party, because then he was also trying to make sense. You can't play both sides, right? In the Democratic Party, right? You either all in, or any nuances in your thought process, you are considered a far right, right? Anything left, right of Bernie Sanders is considered a right. It's considered a far right person, or someone that's on the right. That's how they keep losing moderate voters, right, or moderate politicians. So, which is now get us to today with Mandani. How did he actually win? Well, it's simple. Because I've seen a lot of celebration, a lot of meme, and a lot of Republicans that are like, devastated. It's like, bro, what are you devastated about? It's okay. It happens, right? Because what you have is it's more of a civil war in the Democratic Party, right? It's more of people that actually want socialism, and they live in a city where they are being priced out. They live in a city where they can no longer afford to live in. And some of these people are making good money, right? Social liberals, right? With, some of them with daddy's income and all that stuff, right? They're making decent money, but the city's so expensive, they're being priced out. But the funny thing about it, what they do not tell you is that the reason why the city is so expensive is because of the same policies which they continue to advocate for. And this is the problem when you don't actually understand the source of the problem, the source of the issue, and then you continue to double down on the same issue that continue to make your life worse. And what I've seen now in the Democratic Party, right, there's always this notion about, like, you gotta tax the rich more, right, or eat the rich, and there's so on and so forth. And now the question that I'm wondering is, do these people care about the poor, or do they only want to punish the rich, right? And because the more I think about it, the more I realize, like, they don't give a fuck about the poor. They don't give a damn about people that is in poverty, because their policy continue to bring more people into poverty or keep people more into poverty. Because if you are a political party, right, who pride yourself on those, or who support the poor, right, most of your voters base are from the lower income class, right, or the poor, the dependent of your party. So then the best thing to do is to create more dependent, and then those dependent will continue to vote for you, right? It's simple. It's like, oh no, I can't vote Republican because these motherfuckers threaten to cut my SNAP benefit. I can't do that, right? So then there's no incentive to get out of poverty, but only more incentive to continue to get the free benefit of being poor, right? Like, I've seen some videos of this lady that was in SNAP or in for like 30 years. Like, bro, what the have you been doing with your life for 30 years? You stay on government's tits. Like, what the man? So it's like these folks don't care about elevating people out of poverty, because once you elevate out of poverty, you realize, yo, I don't want to be taxed more. I'm working all these hours and shit like that, and then all my money going towards people that I don't want to work. Right? So then, like, if you are a party that depend on poor people's vote, then you want to create more poor people, not more. You don't want to lift people out of poverty. That's like, no, I want to have more dependent. And that's why you have, like, more, you keep bringing in more voters that, and then you continue to try to put them to become dependent. There's like, what, 20% of SNAP benefit and all that stuff going towards illegal immigrants or parents or dreamers, like, parents of dreamers, which are like parents that came here illegally but have kids over here. Their kids are not illegal. They were born in the country, but their parents are. So, like, their SNAP benefits going towards this group of people. And it's like, so now that's like, the one of the main reasons for the government shutdown, and because, like, you have healthcare going towards illegal immigrants as well, and they want to continue the subsidies and so on and so forth, right? But then now let's further back into the discussion. Let's talk back to let's get back about Mandani. So Mandani is very charismatic. He's a very charismatic politician, right? No doubt about it. Like, he has the Obama swag. Like, he can handle certain questions. He know how to weave and dodge and actually give you answers that seems to be very intelligent on surface level, on people that actually don't dig deep enough into his policies, right? So he's very good at that. Like, so is Gavin Newsom, so is Obama. And so he have a very good charismatic demeanor, right? So that's one of the things that actually got him elected, because that is very attracted towards the youth, and younger voters that's like, yo, finally, we have a candidate that we can at least be proud of. Hey, shut up, Walker. What's going on, man? So yeah, so it's like, yo, finally we have a candidate that we can actually be proud of, that that doesn't come across as a loony. Because as you can see, for the past decade or so, a lot of these politicians, especially in the Democratic Party, right? If you are a moderate, you just sound boring as hell. You sound like a Pelosi. There's no flair about you, right? So then therefore you don't excite voters, right? Or you can go to the extreme left, and then you just climate change this, illegal immigration this. So you talking about the extreme, like crime and all that stuff, right? So then now you kind of scare voters. But Mandani was able to thread the needle to the point where, even though his policy's crazy as hell, but he has a flair about it, and explaining it in a way that kind of sounds like it's common sense, right? But the road to hell is paved with good intention. The funny thing about the rich, right? They are investors. They are here to make their money work for them. And then whenever you try to stop that flow of money, they have the option to get the hell out of there. And that's, yeah, no, hold on a second. Good point. T Money is very charismatic. He's surprisingly an extrovert. Yeah. So now, imagine this, right? You have all these rich people out there, right? Businessman, entrepreneur. These are the ones that actually create jobs. And if I'm an investor, if I am someone that's here to try to create opportunities for other people, why would I give more money towards the government, and that money can actually be used to invest more into my business, right? Now let's talk about rent control. Like one of his policies, one of Mandani's policies is about rent control, right? This, like I said, the road to hell is paved with good intention. What is rent control? Rent control is when you tell tenants, hey, you're not allowed to raise your rent more than this amount of percentage wise, right? But everything else is getting more expensive. So then what tends to happen, so the landlords are like, wait, I'm barely breaking even. So then if I cannot even, let's say all of my expenses, let's say if you're a regular person, right? You have a mortgage, let's say you have a multifamily homes and all that stuff, right? And then all your expenses and mortgages and all that stuff, right, come to across, let's just say about $2,000, right? Total. I'm just giving a random number, right? Let's say it comes across as, let's say, $2,000. But you cannot raise your rent, and then everything that you get from your rental properties and all that stuff, right, comes to about, let's say, $1,800 a month. So now you are now losing about $200 a month on rent. And the more things are getting more expensive, and then the more money that you are now losing. So then what incentive do you have to try to, let's say something's broken, or you got to fix the apartment, you got to do this, you got to do that. So then now that's why you have in New York already have a certain level of rent control. You have people, right, that's paying like very, very cheap rent, right, in New York City, because they were already locked in the rate for, like, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? So they keep those apartments, and they're not giving that up, because to them it's like, hey, why would I move? So then now anything like, any other building that came after that, before the rent was locked up, so then now they skyrocketed, right? So, and on top of that, when you have the buildings are not being properly maintained, so they become unlivable. And that's why at some point you had a lot of arson that happened in Brooklyn, because the people that actually hold these buildings, they're like, wait, I can't make any money, right? The rent, I can't, bring up the rent in order to actually keep up with inflation. And then now, on top of that, I'm supposed to maintain that building and stuff like that, right? Which I'm barely breaking even. And I cannot sell the building because all the investors are looking at like, yo, this is not a good place for us to invest because we're not going to make any money investing in these properties. So these owners, these property owners are like, well, I might as well pay somebody to set the building on fire. So then, and they get the money off the insurance. So then what happened? Once you actually have all these buildings that become unlivable, so you now take a lot of these properties out of the equation. So there's less property now, which makes the rent even more expensive. So it's a cycle that on, on the surface level, it has good intention. But when you implement those policies, it makes things worse for the people that you claim you try to help. And then after we have examples on how of failure rent control have been, and now you got to ask yourself, why do they keep implementing policies that has been proven to fail countless of time? It doesn't make any sense, right? But then you think about it. It's not because they try to help poor people. It's because they're so focused on trying to punish rich people or people with assets, people who actually know how to make their money work for them, entrepreneurs, those type of people. These are the ones that they try to punish. So their hatred to them, their hatred to people that are well off, is more important than helping out poor people. That's why they're so focused on failed policies. They're so focused on like trying to tax the rich, even though it takes money, it takes opportunities away from poor people. It's all about greed and envy, right? It's all about greed and envy. Is there like, rich people that are scumbags? Of course there are. Are there rich people that are like greedy as hell that are just there to just like try to squeal like little people? Of course there is, right? But there's the same trait that you will find among rich people, you also gonna find it amongst poor people, right? Just because you're rich doesn't automatically makes you evil, and just because you're poor doesn't automatically makes you virtuous. People are people at the end of the day. Money is only there to accentuate the qualities that you already have or the lack there is, right? If you are poor people and you are a scumbag, you got money, you're just gonna be a rich person that is a scumbag. That's it. It doesn't accentuate your qualities and shit like that, right? Hey, what do you think that is? Like, I'm poor. That's the reason I'm poor is because like the government and all rich people makes me like, no, shut the fuck. You got poor management, money management skills. You don't have enough. You don't have, like, a lot of time you don't have enough what you call it, like, work ethic for you to be able to like manage a situation to make your life better, especially in the place of opportunity. On the flip side of that, is there a certain level of oppression, right? Of course there is. Of course there is. Life is unfair. No matter where the hell you go, life is unfair. But now you gotta make the comparison compared to what? How unfair life is compared to someone that's living in Haiti, right? Let's say that, okay, no, over here, you down on your luck, you have, let's say, you have a certain safety net, you have SNAP benefit, you have WIC, you have like, welfare system, right? That's supposed to be there to help you on your hard time and then for you to get out of it, right? That's what it was supposed to be for. All of these other countries don't have that. All the Haitians over here, they're always proud to wave the Haitian flag and, this America, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, America's a piece of shit. America's racist. America's this, America's that. They would never, ever want to get back to Haiti. As a Haitian person, do I want to go back to Haiti and try to help fix that shit? No, I don't. I gotta be keeping honest with you, because countless people that try to go over there, they get screwed over by their own people. Like, I'm gonna tell you about Haiti, right? I'm gonna tell you about Haiti. You know, my family, we had land over there and all that stuff, right? From our grandparents and everything, right? We would have loved to go over there, you know, build some stuff, create some businesses, whatever the case may be, but we can't, because security wise, it's very hard to get anything done over there, right? And then let's say that you would hire some people, right? Let's say you would create some business over there, you have somebody run it for you, and then you can come, you can't keep going back and forth and all that stuff, right? These are the same people that's gonna screw you over, because in their mind, they look at you like, it ain't gonna hurt him. He got it like that, right? So then, therefore, they will mess up your business and they will screw you over. So you would lose thousands of dollars. And then at the end of the day, when you pack up and leave, now the people that you employed, now they're worse off. They're worse off because they look at you as a source of income. They look at you, they become entitled to the opportunity you try to provide them, right? Mind you, you also have kidnapping, you have corrupt politicians, and it makes it almost impossible for the Haitian diaspora to go back to Haiti and fix shit. But you might say that, well, what if we actually now, the Haitian diaspora, when, the ones that are over here, what if now we actually elect politicians that's actually going to create policies that would also, when it comes to the foreign policies, that would make it easier or better for, Haiti, right? But no, that's not what we do. We don't do that. Like, take for instance, right? We have USAID. This is like these government program. What they do is that they don't want to actually, like, they go to different countries, they overthrow them, and then they allow the NGOs, the non-government non-profit organization, to run wild in these countries. And then now Trump is like, yo, this USAID doesn't serve our purpose. It's actually, it's more detrimental towards our policies. And then it's like, allowing corrupt politicians in third world countries to run the show. And then, which is, it runs contradictory to, to U.S. foreign policy. So we're going to cut the funding. Oh no, Orange Man's a bad guy. He's this, is that, even though his action somewhat benefit Haiti, right? Because the less NGOs that you have that continue to actually flood, that continue to that continue to actually prop up corrupt politicians in Haiti, you would think that's a good thing, right? Why don't we actually focus on, let's say, senators and politicians that's actually gonna, that's gonna be like, yo, what can you do for me and what can you do for my people? Because that's the smart way of doing it. Fuck politics, fuck left and right, fuck, political party, right? You're supposed to vote for someone that has your best interest and your people's best interest at heart on the long run, right? It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, if you're Republican. It's supposed to be like, how does your policy somewhat, help my country, or at least get the fuck out of the way. Don't make things worse, right? And that would be the common sense thing to do. But no, instead they make you feel like, yo, if you don't vote for this political party, that means that you a coon, you a sellout, you hate your country, you did this, you did that. But then it's all insult, but nothing that is like, below the surface. Okay, let's check out policy. Let's check out this. Let's check out that. Why do you want me to vote for a political party that actually doesn't really, have any interest towards my people, right? But no, it's like, it's tiresome to have this conversation to people that actually don't understand policies, right? And which is why a particular political party depend on voters that don't have that level of understanding. Take the shutdown, for instance, right? The shutdown. The reason why the shutdown continue is because you have the party that is in the minority right now, right? The way that the system is set up is that it kind of it helps the minority party sometimes to be able to fight back against a majority party, right? So certain policies that need to take place, let's say for instance the budget and all that stuff, right? I think you need like in the Senate you need like a 60 vote instead of like like you need like I think a 2/3 majority or 60% of vote. Yeah, 60% of the vote instead of just a regular 51% of vote, right? So then, therefore, if you don't have enough vote in your political party, so now you have to work with the opposition in order to you compromise, you try to get shit done and all that stuff, right? So in a way, the filibuster, in a way, it helps, right? It's supposed to stay, which is why I don't agree with Trump for removing it, right? However, now when let's say the Democrats, the continuing the CR the continuum resolution bill, which is like you pass that bill. It's a budget bill, so then you keep the government open, so then people can continue to actually debate and continue to pass policies, introducing bills in the House representative as well in the Senate, and to keep the government running and function, and then the SNAP benefit to continue, all these programs, these government programs to continue, right? So then now they're like, wait a minute, the Obamacare is about to expire, right? I don't know enough about the Obamacare to to actually have a full topic about it. But from my understanding, the Obamacare is like the government subsidizing healthcare, but instead of making it cheaper, it's actually making it worse, right? And which is funny enough. Anytime the government get involved into something, it doesn't get cheaper, it gets more expensive. Because these institutions are like, well, the government got money to burn, so then I can overcharge the government for these services, right? And then plus you have a level of illegal immigrants that can now use these services, even though it was meant for the American people. So then now this healthcare, the Obamacare is about to be expired. So then they know that try to prolong it when the government is in session, they know that trying to prolong it and stuff like that, it's not gonna work. They might not get the vote to actually prolong it, these subsidies. So then now they're like, well, fuck it. I'm gonna keep the government hostage. I'm not gonna allow enough vote for the government to remain open until you want to actually until you actually want like over $1 trillion to continue to subsidize Obamacare. And then let's say the Republicans like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. That's not supposed to be about the continuum bill, right? The continuum bill is just like is the same bill that they pass over and over again to make the government running. So the Republicans didn't put any incentive or any condition on that bill. They're like, well, we're gonna pass the same bill that you guys pass under Joe Biden. So all of a sudden now you don't want to pass it. And it's like, it doesn't make any sense. But if you don't understand how the government works, or at least have some sort of understanding how it works, so then you look at it, well, the Republicans, they have the majority in the Senate, they have the majority in the House, so then therefore the government shutdown is their fault. You're like, no, stupid, it's not. And the thing about like, if you're also like a, you're partisan person, like vote blue no matter who, or vote red no matter who, so then these nuances you don't care to know enough about them. So then now let's say those people that are on SNAP benefit, that are their snaps being cut off, these people that are like, let's say that are government employees and stuff like that, right? So then now they're fucked. They're like, wait a minute, yo, I can't get paid, I can't get my paycheck and all that shit, right? So then now, and Trump, he's like, he's a smart motherfucker, right? And people are like, they say like, he's a stupid dude, he's dumb, whatever, right? Is he charismatic? No, he's not as charismatic as an Obama. Because if he was as charismatic as Obama, then this motherfucker would have been dangerous. Because Obama's very charismatic, right? He's very charming. That's why, Mandani is also very charming, very charismatic. But charisma can only take you so far. Trump is a businessman. He's the type of person that's like, okay, this is my obstacle. Now, what can I do to actually get the best out of this obstacle that has been presented to me, right? So then now he's looking at it, the government shutdown. He's like, wait a minute. You guys shut down the government because y'all wanted to have more money towards Obamacare. That is not a good policy. That has, that actually make healthcare more expensive than it was supposed to be. But I have other idea on how to fix the healthcare system, but you don't want to compromise on that, but you want me to continue to extend Obamacare. But no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And then now, since the government shut down, so that gave Trump more executive leverage on the budget. So this dude is like, all right, now what are some of these dumbass programs that these Democrats have? We can start cutting off. So all the programs that he could implement, all the shit that he could have cut off during Doge, right? Remember, like, how Democrats threw a massive fit. Doge tried to restructure all these different parts and all that stuff, right? And it makes jobs, a lot, almost impossible to happen. So then now, with the shutdown, he now have the executive privileges to cut down some of these expenses. He's like, all right, this program, we don't need this. That can put on hold. That can put on hold. And since you Democrats are the reason why the government shut down, most of these programs I'm cutting off is gonna be from you. So whatever the leverage that these people thought that they had now is making it worse. They're like, oh no, Trump is a dictator. You fucking gave him the power, dude. Oh no, look at how Trump is firing people. You gave him the power to do so, dude. Like, you're the one, like, I think secretly, right? And the reason why they shut down the government, not because they really give a fuck about the poor or the people on welfare and all that stuff. Because if they did, they would have the government open already, and these people would actually have their food stamp, right? The reason why they shut down the government is because there is a civil war going on between the Democrats. And that is between the socialist Democrats versus old school Democrats. The ones that has been in power for like 40 fucking years, that hasn't really accomplished much. Like the neocons and the neolibs, right? The Nancy Pelosi's of the Democratic Party, the all this. So it's like you have the old school useless Democrats, right? The ones that are only there to line up their pocket, versus the new school socialist Democrats, the AOCs, the Mandanis, the ratchet cracket, and these other ones, right? The far leftists, right? So then now the far leftists, their crowd is very vicious, right? The pro Antifas, these motherfuckers, right? So they're motivated, right? They have the youth spirit, right? So for a very long time, they have been fueled by the old school Democrats, right? The Nancy Pelosi's. They were the one that continued to encourage the radicals, the Antifas. They add fuels to the fire and all that shit, right? But now these same people that they were encouraging, they are now getting out of control. They start to primary these old school Democrats, right? They start to primary the Schumers, of the Democrat, the Pelosi's of the Democrat. They start taking them out of power. And then now, because they're not fighting Trump enough, it's all about fighting Trump. It has nothing to do with, let's say, caring about poor people. It's all about giving the impression that they're fighting back against Trump's policies. That's it. Because they know that if they don't actually show some sort of like backbone against Trump, it means that automatically they are for Trump's policies, right? So then that's going to be fuel enough for these young Democrats, the millennials and the Gen Zs, the Gen Z leftists, to primary them out of their position. That's it. That's the only reason why the government is shut down. Not because they give a fuck about regular people. No, it's because they don't want to be primary. And then now, the election of Mandani in New York City scared the shit out of them. It scares the shit out of them. Not really MAGA. Is it a defeat against MAGA? Not really. Because sometimes you have to give people what they voted for, right? If they want a socialist in power and they elected a socialist in power, that's the will of the people. And whatever comes with that, it's, hey, that's what you voted for, right? So, obviously, that's not how it always works. Because what tends to happen is they voted an incompetent person in power. And then now, when their living condition becomes unbearable, so what do? They leave the place, right? They go to, say, a red state or something like that, and they continue to vote the same way. That's how they do it, right? Because the rich are going to leave first. The rich are like, wait a minute. You telling me that I can no longer make money in your city? You're going to actually punish me for creating more opportunities for the working class? You know what? Fine. I can go somewhere where my money is appreciated. I'm going to go to Florida. That's why, as soon as Mandani won, guess what? Florida's like, yo, you guys want to escape socialism? Y'all want to create opportunities down here in Florida? Yeah, can come down. Yeah, come here, right? So let's say you're a small business owner, right? You are you're a carpenter. You're in the blue collar industry, in the blue collar sector, right? You can go down to Florida, and business is booming. Less taxes on you and stuff like that, right? You don't have no property taxes and all that shit. I mean, you have property. Do you have property taxes? Yeah, you do have property taxes. But state income tax. So you have incentive to move down there. So once you move down there, you bring your business with you. And then by bringing your business with you, you create more opportunities for those who live down in Florida. So then what happened to the dumbasses that voted for the socialist in their city or their state? They're like, fuck. We got no opportunities, right? Crime is rising up because, they're soft on crime policies because they look at it, if these people had money, they wouldn't commit crime. Bullshit. Criminals are criminals, right? They're going to do what they're going to do. And if you have the incentive for them to commit crime, they're going to do it. Be like, oh, wait a minute. I can rob this person and stuff like that. And they just give me a slap on the wrist. Hell yeah, I'm going to do my shit. That's why, no bail. No cash bail, no this and no that. It's a safe haven for criminals. So the criminals are robbing stores, and stores are like, well, I can operate in this and stuff like that, right? My merchandise is being stolen and everything like that. I'm closing shop. I'm closing down grocery stores. I'm closing this. I'm closing that. And the same people that allowed this bullshit to continue, now they're like, oh no, these rich, evil people, they are closing opportunities for citizens in our cities. They are evil. Like, no, you dumbass. Your policies make it horrible for them to be profitable to run a business, so they're closing down shop. It's your fault for being a dumbass. It's your fault for trying to punish me for running a business. So I'm going where I'm wanted. So then now, these idiots who voted for those politicians because they were so happy. Like, yeah, they're going to tax the rich. They're going to take more money away from the rich. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And now the rich left. They're like, fuck, I don't got a job. My job is closed. Like, what the hell do I do? Well, I heard there's a lot of opportunities down in Florida. I heard business is booming down in Florida. I heard there's a lot of places that are hiring in Florida. Well, what if we move down to Florida? So then now the same idiots that voted for those idiots are now moving to a place so they can actually continue the same idiotic policies that they're running away from. That's why you have those that live California to move to Texas, and now they try to turn Texas into California. And that's how it's like a circle. It's like a circle jerk, right? That's how it is. That's how it is. So, is New York City gonna get horrible? Of course it will be. For a while, it will be, right? And but sometimes you gotta give people what they voted for. But yeah, anyway, this is the end of my rant. I gotta get ready for work and all that stuff. Oh man. So once again, I'm your host, the Haitian. So share, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.